The late morning sun filtered through Chloe's gauzy curtains, casting soft patterns across the hardwood floor. At 28, Chloe Harper was in a creative whirlwind, her life a chaotic blend of gallery work and late-night painting sessions. Her loft, a converted industrial space with high ceilings and exposed brick, was a mess of canvases, paint tubes, and half-finished sketches. She stood in the center of it all, her auburn hair tied back with a scarf, a smudge of cerulean blue on her cheek as she wrestled with a new painting. The abstract piece, a riot of reds and golds meant to evoke a sunset over a restless sea, was fighting her, refusing to come alive. She was so lost in this struggle that she didn't hear the knock at first. It came again, sharper, pulling her from her trance. Wiping her hands on her paint-splattered jeans, she crossed the room, expecting her friend Mia, who was due to drop off some art supplies. Instead, when she opened the door, she found him. Marcus Delaney stood there, his broad frame filling the doorway, a lopsided grin on his weathered but striking face. At 58, he carried his age like a badge of honor, silver threaded through his dark hair, laugh lines etched deep around his hazel eyes, and a quiet confidence that seemed to anchor the room. He wore a flannel shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms, and jeans that looked lived in but deliberate. In one hand, he held a small paper bag, the kind you'd get from a bakery. "Chloe," he said, his voice a low, warm rumble, like a distant storm. "Hope I'm not interrupting." Her heart gave an unexpected lurch. Marcus was the father of Mia's son's best friend, Liam, a connection that had brought them into each other's orbits at birthday parties and school events over the past year. They'd exchanged pleasantries before, but nothing more. Yet here he was, unannounced, in her doorway, and the sight of him sent a strange flutter through her chest. "Marcus," she said, recovering with a smile, brushing a strand of hair from her face and hoping she didn't look too much like a walking paint palette. "Didn't expect to see you here. Is Mia okay?" "Mia's fine," he said, his grin widening as he stepped inside, uninvited but not unwelcome. "She asked me to drop these off. Said you needed them for some project." He held up the bag, which Chloe now saw contained a stack of sketch pads and a tin of charcoal pencils. "Oh," she said, taking the bag, her fingers brushing his for a fleeting moment. The contact was brief but electric, and she caught herself lingering on the warmth of his hand. "Thanks. You didn't have to play delivery guy, though." He shrugged, his eyes scanning the loft, taking in the chaos of her creative space. "I was in the neighborhood. Figured I'd save Mia the trip." His gaze landed on her painting, and he tilted his head, studying it. "That's yours?" She nodded, suddenly self-conscious. "Yeah. It's a work in progress. Not sure it's going anywhere." He stepped closer to the canvas, his presence making the loft feel smaller, more intimate. "It's got fire," he said, his tone thoughtful. "Like it's about to explode off the canvas. You've got something special here, Chloe." Her cheeks warmed, caught off guard by the sincerity in his voice. "You know art?" she asked, raising a brow, trying to keep things light. "A bit," he said, turning to face her, his eyes catching hers. "Used to dabble in photography, back in the day." "Nothing like this," though he gestured to the painting, then to her, his smile teasing. "You're the real deal." The compliment hit harder than it should have, and she laughed to cover the flutter in her chest. "Flatterer. What's the catch? You angling for an invite to stay for coffee?" His laugh was deep, genuine, and it sent a shiver down her spine. "Caught me. Though I wouldn't say no if you offered." She hesitated, her better judgment wrestling with the spark in his eyes. This was Marcus, her friend's kid's friend's dad, a man 30 years her senior, someone she barely knew. But there was something about him, a steady warmth that made her want to keep him here, just a little longer. "All right," she said, gesturing to the small kitchen nook. "Coffee it is. But do not anticipate anything extravagant." "Extravagance is overrated," he stated, following her, his footwear making soft sounds on the wooden floor. "I am a straightforward individual." She questioned that assertion. As she occupied herself with the coffee machine, she discreetly observed him, noticing his relaxed posture against the counter, comfortable in her personal space. So, she began, maintaining a casual tone, "What is someone like you doing running errands for Mia? Do you not have? I do not know, a construction business to manage?" She was aware that Marcus owned a small contracting company, a detail Mia had mentioned in passing. He chuckled, folding his arms. "Empire is an exaggeration. Just maintaining operations. And Mia has me completely under her influence when it comes to favors. Furthermore," he added, his voice lowering, "I considered it an opportunity to observe the renowned Chloe Harper in her natural environment." Her heart rate increased, and she turned to face him, a playful challenge in her gaze. "Renowned, really? You have been conversing with Mia excessively." "Perhaps," he responded, moving closer, his stare unwavering. "Or perhaps I have been attentive." The atmosphere between them intensified, charged with an unspoken energy. Chloe handed him a cup, their fingers brushing once more, and this time, neither withdrew quickly. "Be careful, Marcus," she cautioned, her voice playful but her heart pounding. "You are going to make me believe you are more than just the delivery person." His smile was slow, deliberate. "Perhaps I am." The coffee led to conversation, and the conversation extended longer than Chloe had intended. Marcus recounted his experiences in photography, capturing rugged landscapes during cross-country road trips, and she shared anecdotes of her early art school mishaps, such as the time she accidentally ignited a canvas during a critique. His laughter was warm, reassuring, and each time his eyes lingered on her, her paint-stained hands, the scarf slipping from her hair, she experienced a thrilling sensation. "You are not what I anticipated," she confessed, leaning against the counter, her coffee long forgotten. "I thought you would be. I do not know, more serious." He raised an eyebrow, leaning closer, his elbow lightly touching hers. "And I thought you would be more challenging to keep pace with. But you are captivating, Chloe. In a positive manner." Her cheeks reddened, and she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, aware of his gaze following the movement. "Captivating is a new one," she remarked, attempting to keep her tone light. "I will accept it, though." "You should," he stated, his voice low, like a secret intended solely for her. "It is a rare quality." She should have concluded their interaction there, sent him on his way, maintaining a friendly but distant relationship. But instead, she found herself saying, "You know, I am instructing an art class tomorrow at the community center. If you are not too occupied managing your Not an Empire, you should attend. Observe what I am truly passionate about." His eyes brightened, a spark of interest that accelerated her pulse. "An invitation? Be careful, Chloe. I might accept your offer." "I am counting on it," she replied, the words escaping before she could restrain them. He grinned, placing his mug down. "Tomorrow, then. I will bring my most critical expression." He paused at the door, looking back. "And Chloe? Do not hold back on that painting. It contains your essence." The door closed, and Chloe exhaled, her legs feeling weak. Her loft now felt too quiet, too empty, but Marcus's presence lingered, warm and unsettling. She glanced at her canvas, the reds and golds suddenly vibrant with potential. Indeed, dangerous desires. The following day, Chloe's nerves were highly strung as she prepared for her art class at the community center. The room was a bright, spacious area filled with easels and the lively conversation of her students, primarily retirees and a few young creative individuals. She wore a simple white shirt and denim trousers, her hair unbound, attempting to concentrate on her lesson plan. But her thoughts repeatedly drifted to Marcus. Would he appear? Was she foolish for inviting him? When he entered, 10 minutes into the class, her heart fluttered. He wore a dark jumper that accentuated his physique, his silver-streaked hair catching the light. He carried a sketchpad, a playful nod to her work, and took a seat at the back, his eyes finding hers with a grin that said he knew the effect he had. "Glad you made it," she said, addressing the class but looking at him, her voice steadier than she felt. Wouldn't miss it, he replied, loud enough for the room to hear, earning a few curious glances from her students. The class was a beginner's session on color theory, and Chloe threw herself into it, guiding her students through mixing paints and creating bold compositions. But Marcus's presence was a distraction, his gaze steady as he watched her move around the room, his own sketchpad open but untouched. When she paused to check his work, she found a rough sketch of her, mid-gesture, her hair falling loose, her eyes alight with passion. "You're supposed to be painting, not sketching me," she teased, her voice low, aware of the students nearby. He leaned closer, his shoulder brushing hers. "Couldn't help it. You're more interesting than the assignment." Her cheeks burned, and she stepped away, trying to focus on the class. But his words stayed with her, a spark that refused to fade. After class, as the students filed out, Marcus lingered, helping her clean brushes in the sink, their hands brushing in the soapy water. "You're good at this," he said, his voice soft. "Teaching. You make it look easy." "Thanks," she said, glancing up at him, their faces close in the small space. "You're not so bad at being a student. Though you're a terrible rule follower." He laughed, drying his hands, his eyes never leaving hers. "Rules are overrated. Especially when there's something worth breaking them for." Her breath caught, the air between them electric. "Careful, Marcus," she said, her voice playful but her heart racing. "You're gonna make me think you're not just here for the art." His smile was slow, knowing. "Maybe I'm not." Over the next week, Marcus became a fixture in Chloe's world, slipping into her life with an ease that both thrilled and unnerved her. He'd show up at the gallery with coffee, claiming he was just passing by, his grin betraying the lie. He'd text her late at night, sharing snippets of old photos he'd taken, rugged mountains, windswept coasts, that felt like glimpses into his soul. Each interaction was laced with that same flirty tension, a push and pull that left her dizzy. One afternoon, he invited her to a local farmer's market, claiming he needed her artist's eye to pick out a gift for Mia's son. The market was a riot of color, fresh produce, handmade crafts, the scent of baked goods in the air. Marcus was at her side, his shoulder brushing hers as they navigated the stalls, his laughter warm as she teased him about his terrible taste in pottery. "You're ruthless," he said, holding up a lumpy vase, his eyes twinkling. "This could be a masterpiece." "It's a crime against clay," she shot back, laughing as she nudged him. Their hands brushed as they reached for the same basket of apples, and neither pulled away, the contact lingering. At a stall selling handmade journals, Chloe lingered over a leather-bound book, its pages thick and inviting. Marcus noticed, and before she could protest, he'd bought it, handing it to her with a grin. "For your next masterpiece," he said. "Or just to write down all the reasons I'm trouble." Her cheeks flushed, and she tucked the journal into her bag. "You're relentless," she said, but her voice was soft, her smile betraying her. That evening, he insisted on cooking dinner at her loft, claiming he owed her for the coffee. She watched him move around her kitchen, chopping vegetables with practiced ease, his flannel shirt rolled up to reveal those forearms again. The sight was distracting, and she caught herself staring more than once. "You're staring," he said without looking up, a smirk in his voice. "I'm not," she lied, busying herself with setting the table. He glanced over, his eyes catching hers. "You are. And I don't mind." Dinner was simple but delicious, grilled chicken, roasted potatoes, a bottle of red wine. But the real heat was in the way he looked at her across the table, the way his foot nudged hers under it, lingering just a moment too long. After, they sat on her couch, the city lights visible through the loft's windows, a soft jazz playlist filling the silence. "Chloe," he said, his voice low, turning to face her. "I'm not just here for the art class or the coffee. You know that, right?" Her heart stuttered. "I suspected." He reached out, his fingers brushing her wrist, light but deliberate. "Good, because I am not good at pretending I do not want something, and I want to know you really know you," she swallowed, her voice unsteady. "You are trouble, Marcus, maybe," he said, his thumb tracing a slow circle on her wrist. But you are not running, that has to mean something. She did not run. She did not pull away. Instead, she leaned into the moment, the heat of his touch, the promise of something more. The following week, Chloe's life felt like a canvas painted in bold new colors. The gallery was gearing up for a major exhibit, and she was swamped, but Marcus was never far from her thoughts. He had started leaving notes with his coffee deliveries, small, handwritten things tucked into the cup sleeve. Saw a sunset that reminded me of your painting, keep shining, Chloe, or, bet I can guess your favorite song by the end of the week, hint, it is not jazz, each note made her smile, made her heart race, made her wonder how someone she had known for such a short time could unravel her so completely. Mia noticed, of course, cornering her at the gallery one day. Marcus Delaney, she said, her tone teasing but cautious. He is a charmer, Chloe, just, be careful I am not falling for him, Chloe said, but the words felt hollow. She was not sure what she was doing, only that Marcus made her feel alive in a way she had not in years. On Friday, he invited her to a photography exhibit at a small downtown gallery, a collection of black and white landscapes from his old mentor. Thought you would appreciate it, he said over the phone, his voice warm. And I would like your company, she agreed, telling herself it was just an outing, but the flutter in her chest said otherwise. She wore a deep green dress, her hair loose, the leather journal he had given her tucked into her bag as a talisman. The exhibit was intimate, the photos stark and haunting, and Marcus was in his element, sharing stories of his mentor's techniques, his hand brushing hers as they moved from frame to frame. You see the world differently, she said, pausing before a photo of a windswept cliff. Like you are looking for the story in everything, he turned to her, his gaze intense. Maybe I am, and right now, I am looking at yours, her breath caught, and she laughed to cover it. Smooth, Marcus, too smooth, he grinned, stepping closer. You like it. The exhibit ended with a small reception, and Marcus stayed by her side, his presence a steady anchor in the crowd. When they stepped outside, the night air cool and crisp, he offered to walk her home. The city was quiet, the streets bathed in moonlight, and their steps fell into an easy rhythm. At her loft door, Chloe turned to face him, her keys dangling, her heart pounding. You are making it really hard to keep things simple, she said, her voice a mix of teasing and truth. Marcus stepped closer, his hand resting on the doorframe above her, his body close enough to feel his warmth. Simple is overrated, he said, his voice low, rich. What do you want, Chloe? Her mouth went dry. What did she want? Safety, routine, the life she knew? Or this, him, the thrill, the fire he ignited in her? I do not know, she whispered, but her eyes betrayed her, lingering on his lips. He smiled, slow and knowing. You do, you are just not saying it yet. She opened the door, stepping back, her voice shaky but playful. Good night, Marcus Delaney, I'll see you around. His laugh was gentle and comforting. Oh, you will, Chloe, I'm not going anywhere. As the door shut, she rested against it, her heart beating rapidly. Marcus had entered her life without warning, bringing with him a surge of perilous longings she could not disregard. She looked at her canvas, the reds and golds now vibrant with energy, and was certain of one thing, whatever occurred next, it would be an exceptional creation. The following morning, Chloe discovered a package outside her door, a small, wrapped picture frame with a message, saw this and thought of you, keep painting, Chloe, the world needs your passion. She unboxed it to reveal a monochrome photograph of a turbulent ocean, its waves mirroring her own artwork. Her heart expanded, and she grinned, placing the frame next to her easel. Marcus was indeed problematic, but the sort of problem that inspired her to create art, to experience life fully, to take risks.